Speaker that we have coming up is going to talk to you about how gifting can make a major impact on that relationship and experience that you have with clients. Now, I actually was introduced to John through a friend in that mastermind group that I was talking about. So the group of other business owners and CEOs that I'm with is good friends with John, and he said, "Man, you've got to meet this guy. It's like everything you guys talk about and that you teach your advisors to do is right in line with what John teaches about gifting and how to really use that to make an impact with your clients." So got a chance to meet him a few months ago. I'm excited about some of the things that he's going to roll out. Let me tell you just a few things about him. He's ranked number one in sales out of 1.5 million distributors for a 70-year-old, $250 million international direct sales company. As the founder of the Ruhlin Group, he writes for Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, and the Huffington Post. He's got some pretty awesome clients that he works with, including the World Series champion Chicago Cubs, the San Antonio Spurs, the Jacksonville Jaguars, UBS, Morgan Stanley, the Cleveland Indians. Actually lives right outside of St. Louis in a small town called Edwardsville. Married to his wife Lindsay with 3 daughters. In his best-selling book, Giftology, The Art and Science of Using Gifts to Cut Through the Noise, Drive Referrals, and Strengthen Retention, has become a playbook for leaders that want to grow sales and deepen relationships. Today, he's going to share those strategies with you. So if you would, help me welcome my friend, John Ruhlin.
Good afternoon. It's after lunch, I can tell. Good afternoon. It's a great honor to be on this stage. Just about 12 months ago, I'd never heard about Advisors Excel, and then a friend named Joey Coleman said, "You really got to meet this company." I was just on their stage, and everything they do is first class. They're amazing. Like just the attention to detail is spectacular. You got anybody here last year and heard Joey speak? He's one of the best speakers on the planet. He's a good client and good friend. And so it's Derek, David, and Cody. Thank you so much for having me. Kelly, all the work behind the scenes to make this happen. Before I dive into my message, I want to share some thoughts that I had last night, because I've been to a lot of trade shows, a lot of conferences, and I thought it's going to be the normal dog and pony show, and showed up at the opening ceremony last night and was like, "Oh, it's cool, the drums and whatever else." And then Magic walks out. I was like, I've booked Magic before. He's a $125,000 speaker. It's a big investment. And his energy and personality, and then to go to see like the organization that they're supporting, the Leukemia Foundation, which maybe a couple years ago wouldn't have meant as much, but I have 3 daughters now. And to see that video about Emily was hit me. And even more so, one of my closest friends, Hal Elrod, who wrote a book called Miracle Morning, he's one of my best friends in the world, about a month and a half ago got diagnosed with leukemia. And he's fighting for his life. He's down in Houston at Anderson Medical Center. And so I said, like, in my mind, I'm thinking, they're raising all this money, like this is an amazing cause. I need to step up my game. And so I had a conversation with an advisor yesterday. And he's kind of just shared one of his dreams, kind of bucket list items. He's a huge New England Patriots fan. I know there's some boos. He's a huge Patriots fan, and he said, "Man, I'd be really amazing to take my dad. Like, I don't know how long Tom Brady's going to be in the game, and so I'd really love to take my dad to a game, but the tickets are, have you seen the ticket prices?" And I'm like, "Well, I have some pro sports teams clients, but my team, the Browns, probably not going to be in the Super Bowl anytime soon, so no, I haven't really looked." He's like, "Man, I just really love to go, but I can't justify." He's like, I'd feel guilty not giving that money to my church or a cause or whatever else, but my dad, I know deep down he'd really want to go. So it got me thinking, and the Magic came out, and LLS, and I'm like, "John, what could you do?" So I looked online and saw that Derek Rovell, one of the ESPN writers, somebody just spent $83,000 on 6 tickets on the 30-yard line. I'm like, holy crap, that's a lot of money. let's make a few phone calls. So this morning I called the Jaguars, my buddies there, and I said, hey, any chance you could get face value tickets? This guy doesn't want them for free. Just really like to take his dad. What do you think? And he said, let me check. Called back and said, I think you might be able to do something. And so, Derek, Gregoire, you in the audience? Will you please stand? Jaguars came in, face value $1,900. You get 2 tickets, lower bowl, end zone. Take your dad.
Appreciate that. That's awesome.
So there's one caveat. The one caveat is no pressure, although there's a lot of people looking right now. What you would have spent on the tickets, I'm going to ask you to consider giving the difference to the Leukemia Foundation. Done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I mean, I don't even know what this, obviously I was sitting in my seat not expecting this, but my dad obviously has been a big part of my life for those of you who know me, and he retired. He's doing well, thank God, but we're big sports fans. We're diehard Patriot fans. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I didn't expect this, obviously, but it's hard to justify spending $10,000, $15,000 to go to a 3-hour game. But to the memories that I can create with my dad, I mean, speaking of gifting, I can't imagine a better gift. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Not quite as cool as Magic Johnson, but it's fun when you go all in. And it's fun to do things for people that appreciate it. When Derek shared with me what was going on, he said, hey, it'd be great if you had some connections, but I don't really expect anything. And you could tell, like, it'd mean the world to him. And so what I want to talk about today, most people, like I spoke to a big group of CFOs the other day, and I'm like, if you just got your gifting right, your relationship building right, it's amazing how that can affect the bottom line. And you could tell, like, they had their arms crossed, like, seriously, this dude's gonna talk about gifting for an hour? Like, that's the last thing I wanna talk about. Like, most people in business, they're driven by their P&L and their operational expenses and how fancy their brochure is. Gifting, really? Does that really make a difference? And so I wanna take you guys back 16 years ago to give you some context for just a few minutes so you kind of understand where I'm coming from. And it kind of tees up and sets up the 5 things I'm gonna talk about today. Most people, when they hear about high-end gifting, they automatically assume I was born with like a silver spoon in my mouth, like on one of the coasts. Like, must have been born in like New York or LA, like rich family, like, oh, of course, gifting comes naturally and he has all these connections. But what really happened, I was born on a farm in Ohio. Any Midwest people in the audience? Okay, nice. Doing every day I was able to do one of the most sexy things on the planet before I went to school. I milked goats. I was one of 6 kids. We heated our house with wood. So I learned very early what I didn't want to do for the rest of my life. I didn't necessarily want to plant corn and hoe beans, bale hay, like going to my grandparents' lake once a summer to swim. That was our vacation. And so I was very motivated to get good grades, and I thought I'd go be a doctor, make mom proud. So I went into college, Malone Small Christian University, get my undergrad, then go on to graduate school, go into med school. And I was dating a girl at the time, and her dad was an attorney. And when you're poor, you notice generosity. And I noticed that Paul was always giving things away. Like, he would find random things like deal on noodles, and he'd buy a semi-load. And the next Sunday, everybody, all 200 people, would end up with like a year's supply of noodles. I'm like, Paul, that's 20 G's in noodles. Are you kidding me? And he's like, I know, but did you see their smiles? I'm like, you just gave them a year's supply of noodles. Who's not gonna walk out of church with a smile? He's like, I know, but they loved it. He was always giving things away, and magically, like, he would get the phone call like, hey, there's this piece of property up for sale. I think you should buy it. Hey, could you help me with this project? So he would own a piece of property, and 5 years later, it turned into the Walmart. He'd get on the bank board, they'd start giving him shares, and now he became the largest shareholder of the bank. Like, referrals and deals just flowed in. So I remember I interned with a company called Cutco. Anybody familiar with the knife company? Anybody had one of the college kids come? Yeah, Vector Marketing, Cutco, yep. So I had some friends that did Cutco, and I was motivated to try to just get some sales experience and make a little money to pay for med school. And so I remember going into the interview. I was so green, I wore my glasses to look smarter in the interview. I wore the one tie I had. I was scared to death. I was like, they're not gonna hire me, and I knew the manager. I didn't realize the internship programs worked with like 1 million college kids. If you can fog a mirror, you're hired. So I went in, remember working up the guts to go talk to Paul, my girlfriend's dad. That's how motivated and desperate I was. And I thought, he's always giving things away. Maybe he'll give away pocket knives to his clients. Like they're all like CEOs of companies like lumber companies and home builders. It's in the heart of Amish country. If you've ever been to the heart of Ohio, there's like the largest Amish community in the world. And he was an attorney for a lot of those businesses. And so I said, Paul, would you consider buying pocket knives for your clients? And he got this little smirk on his face. He was like 60 at the time, silver hair. Right before church, he leans back in the chair and he said, John, what about the paring knives? Could I engrave those? And I'm sure I had this like deer in the headlights look. Like, you're gonna give grown men of multi-million-dollar companies paring knives as gifts? Like, that's the weirdest thing on the planet. He's like, John, you're probably wondering why. I said, Paul, I'm desperate. I'll sell you as many paring knives as you want, but yeah, why? And he said, I found in 30 years of business that if you take care of the family, everything else just kind of takes care of itself. For me, it was a lightning bolt moment. I started to realize it really wasn't about the gift. It really wasn't about the knife. Paul understood relationship building and psychology at this really deep level. And because of that, he was attracting more referrals than he could possibly handle. He was a small law firm. He was having to outsource referrals to other attorneys because he couldn't handle them all. And so I started to apply these principles, and I would invest as a college kid, $200 in a carving set, which $200 to a college kid might as well have been $2 million. But I'd engrave the wife's name, family name, whatever else, and I put a little handwritten card inside, and it would say, Dear Mr. CEO, please carve out 5 minutes for me. I promise it'll be worth your time. And 2 weeks later, I'd get the meeting. And I'd walk in, I'm 21 years old, green as green can be, in walks like a 65-year-old guy into the boardroom. And you can tell he's so confused. Because he's like, I thought you'd be like this seasoned sales professional, like in their 40s, maybe 50s. He's like, I'm confused. Are you here to sell me knives? And I'd be like, no, I'm here to help your 1,000 sales reps do the same thing I just did to you. I'm here to help you deepen relationships. It's not about the knife. I'm gonna teach your guys how to open doors, how to attract referrals, how to, with all the noise that's going on, I'm gonna help you, pun intended, cut through the noise. And the CEO would get this big smile on his face and be like, you're pretty freaking good. And I'd walk out of there with an order for 1,000 sets of knives. And so by the time I was a senior in college, I was starting to attract deals with professional sports teams and open doors with places that a farm boy from Ohio never, ever should get access to. By the time I was a senior in college, I was Cutco's largest international distributor in their 70-year history out of 1.5 million people. Not because I'm the best salesperson in the world. In fact, I was nervous in most of those meetings. And if you would have told me 16 years ago that you're gonna be on stages, like national and international stages, teaching this to seasoned CEOs, Fortune 500 companies, and professional sports teams, I would have laughed you out of the room. Because I would much rather go into a casket and die 16 years ago than to get up in front of you guys. I was so green. But over the last 16 years, I've started to apply the things I learned from this small country attorney. And it's opened up doors that I could never have pried open. There's 10 things in giftology that I talk about. I can only talk about 5 today. There's 5 core questions. None of them are rocket science. But when you apply them and you have your business really dialed in, this is the key. I tell people all the time, gifting will not save your business. If you suck at service and then you send somebody a gift, guess what happens? it adds salt to the wound. They're like, I wish you would just serve and return my phone call more than send me this really nice gift. But if you have your business dialed in and you start to do these things, this is the little tweak. You know, if you follow Olympic athletes, the difference between a gold medalist and somebody that's in sixth place is what? In like swimming. It's like 2/100 of a second. It's the little things. So I'm gonna talk about these 5 core questions, and the first one that I'm gonna talk about is it personalized? Kind of apropos, made by you. Is it personalized? About 9 years ago, I joined an organization called EO. Anybody familiar with like EO or YPO, Vistage? Anybody a member or familiar with those organizations? Yeah? So I joined EO, just did qualified, was nervous. It's kind of like an event like this. About 1,200 people was their university. And I went out to Vegas, and it was like Steve Wynn was speaking privately to us. And I was like, gosh, do I even really belong here? That's the thought that's going through my head. And so I almost left. I walked in, I didn't know anybody. I actually went to the university before I was officially a member of EO. Like, that's how gung-ho I was. Somebody had recommended me. They own 20 companies. And when somebody that owns 20 companies says you should do this, I just gave them my credit card and said, I'm in. But I was at this event in Vegas, and I remember like looking at some of the bios of some of the speakers. And one in particular kind of caught my eye. Like, he'd grown a company from 2 million to 120 million in 5 years. Anybody from Canada here? Anybody familiar with 1-800-GOT-JUNK? They're now all across the US. He had led that. 5,000 articles written about him. Like, I was blown away by his background, but I was like, he ran a junk company. Like, that's the most unsexy thing on the planet. Like, really, junk? But I decided I'm gonna go. And when I went, it was standing room only, so I weaseled my way into this breakout. And I started to hear him like talk about like PR and media. And for me, it was one of those moments where I was like, I don't want this guy as a client, I want him as a friend. If I could have him as an advocate, it could be a game changer for my business. And maybe you've had that in your communities, or like, there's a pillar of the community, you're like, if I could get this one person, the domino effect would be incredible over the next 20 years. Anybody ever felt like that when you've a key person, a key company, a key relationship? That's how I felt. And so afterwards, I waited for like an hour to stand in line, and I found out that he was gonna be coming to Cleveland, where I was living at the time. And so I'm thinking, what can I do to get his attention? Like, well, I have LeBron tickets, they're really good seats, maybe we'll go out to a dinner or something. And so I go up, I say, hey, are you coming to Cleveland? He's like, yep. I said, what are you gonna do the night before? He's like, not much. I said, you wanna go to a Cavs game, grab a steak dinner? And his response was very underwhelming. It's like, I guess. And then I realized in my head, I'm like, this dude goes on probably 100 of those kind of dinners. Steak dinner, ball game, like, wow, John, you're really creative. I'm like, I gotta do something to like shake this guy up. So I said, what else are you gonna do? He said, the dollar's really weak. I'm not sure what else I'm gonna do. But I think I'm gonna go to my favorite store and shop. I said, oh, where's that? I'm thinking, maybe this is my angle. He said, Brooks Brothers. So on the spot, I'm like, I'm a Jose Bank guy. What's your shirt size? I wanna send you a shirt. You could tell like he had this bewildered look. Like, this dude have a man crush on me? Like, he's asking me my shirt size within 2 minutes of meeting me? Like, but he's from Canada, so he's polite, and he's like, he told me. I said, what else do you do? He said, nothing. I said, all right, awesome. We'll meet at the hotel. We'll go out for, dinner, then we'll go to a Cavs game. He's like, sounds good. Not very excited, but sounds good. So that I called my business partner. I just sold like half the company. I'm like, Rod, I have this really good idea. Like, this guy could be a game changer for the business. And Rod's the finance guy. Like, I'm the vision relationships guy. He's the finance guy. And when I tell him the idea, he's like, absolutely not. We don't have the money for that. That is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. I'm like, Rod, but you don't understand. Like, this could be a game changer. He's like, nope, can't do it. No way. I'm like, all right, you're right. So the day of Cameron flying in, he starts texting me, my flight's delayed, I'm gonna get in late, I'm not gonna shop or anything, I'm just gonna come to the hotel. Do you just wanna cancel? I said, no, like, well, even if we miss half the game, no problem. He's like, okay. So it's like 5 hours before he's gonna land. I call Rod, I'm like, we have to do this. This is too perfect. And he said, if it doesn't work, it's coming out of your draw. I'm like, fine, let's do it. He's like, all right. So I drive up to Brooks Brothers. I put the Amex down. I'm sweating because I'm so nervous. And like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm like, the self-talk. I said, I want one of everything in the new fall collection with these sizes. All your shirts, jackets, pants, belts, shoes, everything. And the junior sales associate's like, you're joking, right? And with a straight face, I'm like, I wish I was, but no. I need all of it. All of it. He's like, okay. Takes them an hour to gather everything up. They put it on racks. They start ringing it up. They go to slide the Amex. I'm like, please go through. Literally, like that's the feeling. And I look to sign the bill, and it's $7,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, this better work. So I drive over to the Ritz where he's gonna be staying. I ask for the GM. I say, you have one of the top business coaches in the entire world coming in. Like he's did this and this and this. He's coaching like the Sheikh of Qatar and their 300 companies in Dubai and like all this other crazy stuff. Do you wanna do something special to blow his mind? What do you think the Ritz said? They said, sure. I said, here's what I wanna do. I wanna merchandise this whole hotel room to look like a Brooks Brothers store. Jackets here, pants, sweaters, everything. They're like, really? I'm like, yes. Like, done. So I'm downstairs waiting with my business partner, drinking like a triple on the rocks. My business partner's like, this is the dumbest thing. He's gonna think you're a stalker. Like, this is crazy. Like, we don't have the money to pay for this. Cameron comes in, you could tell it's like one of those travel days from hell. Like he's thinking, why did I ever agree to this dumb dinner and a ball game? That's what's going through his head. He's just like, Cameron, we'll take a shower, come down, like even if we miss the game, we'll just go grab, dinner. And he comes back down 25 minutes later. He's glowing. He's like, John, I've had people overseas that I thought were amazing. Like they'd remember my name and have a towel and a bottle of water waiting for me when I went for a jog. For like the Four Seasons. He said, I've texted pictures to authors. I'm changing my best customer service story ever. Like whatever you want to talk about, for as long as you want to talk about it, I'm all ears. I've never had anybody treat me like this. Now you fast forward over the last 9 years. He's opened up doors with the president of Starbucks. Been invited to his 50th birthday party. Every client that he has, CEO of Sprint, no problem, John, let's send him something. Let's make an introduction. He's done more things for me than I could ever have done. And here's the kicker, because as finance guys, you guys are probably thinking like FINRA and SEC, like they would eat me alive. I'm gonna go to prison for like 30 years if I drop 7 G's on clothes. Like how is that applicable? Well, here's the fun part. Cameron came back to me afterwards. He's like, I picked out some clothes. I took them home, I love it.